Char friends, welcome back. We're in the 4-5 emotional 6.5 day sequence, and we're going to talk about the last 12 hours of this sequence, day 6.5. Now, the last 12 hours is located right here. Now, anytime we get to the end of an emotional set, it's kind of a big deal because what's going to happen is there's going to be a synchronization in the reversal of polarity moments. And that's just a fancy way of saying that it's going to definitely be a little bit difficult. Now, it's important to understand what it is we are. You see, we're sentient beings and we exist within a space time construct. And because we're sentient, we're supposed to work through our emotions in positive ways. Now, when we broke this mathematical construct, it allowed us to see how there's a predetermined pattern that agitates our design. You see, we already have proven that we're designed to be defensive. Every single sentient being has a unconscious system of control. It's called the fight or flight mechanism. And when it's engaged, what it does is it manipulates our choices. So when we become stressed out or we start to feel something that we don't like, what happens is our body tries to convince us run away, or our body tries to convince us stand up and fight for your problems. Now, when we figured out this pattern, what we realized is all of our conflict and stress is really being guided by this pattern. So it lets us make very accurate forecasts of not only what's going to happen within our individual lives, but when you're watching the news and you're looking at the bigger picture in this shared experience, you're going to see that when this pattern elevates and holds, so does all the social chaos around us. Okay. Now, we're trying to help you understand this pattern, how it affects both the individual and the masses of people, because if you can prepare for this pattern, what you can do is you can prepare for those feelings that are trying to trick you. If you allow your feelings to create defensive reactions, well, this is what it does. It creates the stress that accelerates your aging and creates future states of disease. So, this predetermined pattern affects every single individual a little differently because how that individual engages this pattern will determine one, how fast they age, two, where they're going to age, and three, where future states of disease are going to be found within their body. Now, the problem is when this pattern elevates, it makes it very hard for us as individuals and groups of individuals to work out our problems. So that's why we do this forecast. Now, the 4 or 5 has been kind of challenging because on these charts, whether we're looking at the blue, the purple, or the magenta, okay, the blue is just first person. That's the people that are around us on a day to day basis. Third person, well, that's the bigger picture that individuals invest in. All right. And then combined is just taking those two things and putting them together. You see, stress is messy. If you get frustrated with somebody in your house or you see something on the news that you don't like, well, that stress kind of rides with you for the rest of that day, or it takes some time to kind of shed that experience and go away. And this 4 or 5 has just not let us get rid of our stress. In fact, it's been holding our stress level up here at this level 4 and above. And all that does is it makes it really hard to stay calm. And what we end up doing then is falling victim to our design, which then manipulates our choices and creates the stress that accelerates all the things we're trying to help you slow down. All right, so when we get to the end of the sequence, I briefly mentioned this. What's going to happen is it's like a metaphorical tide. And we're going to be at a metaphorical high tide. And then when we meet the next sequence, which will be the 4-4, there's going to be some stagnant energy. And then everything's going to reverse and go the other way whenever we do these tidal changes. It's always high alert. So this next 12 hours and the next 36 hours after this is definitely going to be challenging. Now, the good news, and we're not there yet, the 4-4 is definitely going to be easier than this 4-5 was. Okay. So look forward to that. Now we're going to come down here and we're going to talk about what that unseen pattern, those polarity moments up there, what they're trying to stop us to do. The way this is set up is pretty easy to understand. You see, we're in a simulated mathematical construct, which means everything that exists is made possible by interconnected frequencies. And what we've done is we've organized these frequencies and how they're connected to the quadrants of every sentient being's body. Now, every sentient being is being challenged by these frequencies, is being guided by these frequencies, and ultimately is being governed by these frequencies. What do I mean? Well, these frequencies are all about balanced choice. So we're expected, even though we're designed to be defensive, we're expected to overcome that defensive design and get along with all our teammates. Now, if you're having problem getting along with teammates, and when you look at sons and daughters, those are just the younger, more immature members of the team. The fathers and mothers, well, they're the more mature members. Doesn't matter. Mature or immature, you got to be able to communicate, cooperate, talk about stress, alleviate stress. If you're doing those things and you're effective at it, well, then you're going to build a strong team dynamic. But you can see that dealing with different team members, well, that's the biggest problem because you have to be able to get along with the feminine part of the team. You have to be able to get along with the masculine part of the team, and you have to be able to get along with people that are a little more mature as well as people that are a little less mature. Now, what are we supposed to be doing and getting along with? We're supposed to be working together to ensure that every future family that comes into this experience is going to have a fair and balanced world, no matter where they're born. You see, in the world we currently exist in, it makes a difference what nation you're born into. It even makes a difference what family you're born into. Okay. So when every member of the team decides to invest in routines and invest their time and strategy and their resources to ensure that every future family, no matter where they live and no matter what part of the world they're from, is going to have a balanced experience, well, then our world is going to become more balanced. Now, this is why you want to do that. You see, if your routines are unbalanced and you as an individual or your family or your nation is investing in strategies that really help you more than it helps all the other people we share this existence with, well, the more unbalanced your routines are, the more unbalanced your strategies are, the faster your individual bodies are going to be destroyed by these governing frequencies. You see, these frequencies aren't asking, they're telling us. And they're telling us through biofeedback. If you continue to live your life in an imbalanced approach where you're not getting along with your teammates and you're not balancing your routine, then what you're doing is you're accelerating your death. That's how that works. Now, these governing frequencies, they get everybody. Think about it. We all die. There's no escaping that. Now, if you commit to balancing, which is going to be difficult, why? Because we're designed to be defensive. So just because we show you this pattern doesn't mean it's going to make you feel any more like you want to do this. You're still going to feel like you don't have to get along with certain people, and you're still going to feel like, well, why can't I take care of myself better than everyone else? That's part of the design. But if you can overcome that, if you can overcome those feelings of desire, and if you can balance your relationships with everybody, and you can balance your routines in a way that helps every future family that currently exists, as well as the ones that haven't even been formed yet, well, then here's the good news. You pass the simulated reality's objective. This is nothing more than a mathematical construct. And once you understand the construct, there is a reason that this exists. The purpose is to balance. If you balance, there's a reward. If you don't balance, you continue to get punished. What do I mean, continue to get punished? Well, if you don't balance with your teammates and you don't balance your routines, you just keep coming back into this negative feedback loop again and again and again. If you do balance both of these things and you do it till your last day, and all of your choices, when they're added up at the end, make sure that what you did was going to leave this place a better place, then you get to move on and graduate to a better existence within this simulated construct. You see, we're going to continue to learn. And we have the choice to learn on a negative side or a positive side. We're just trying to help you understand how to get out of this negative feedback loop we're in because it makes us suffer. That's how we learn now. We make mistakes. We create all kinds of chaos. That chaos teaches us there's a better way. But to do that, you have to overcome the chaos that is stopping you from experiencing that better way. All right, so we prove this to you, and it's pretty easy to prove this because, again, we're in a mathematical construct, and we just don't show you the math. We show you how the math makes you feel. So we're going to talk about this next 12-hour period of time and how this 12 hours is going to make us feel. So this is day 6.5, and you can see that we really zoom stuff in here. We want you to be able to see the times of the day and when they're going to correlate to when these peaks are going to come up. So you can see when this 12 hours start, it really gets up here at a 6 and even jumps up into that 7 range, at least for the first 3 hours. And then it kind of drops itself off. And then at the end of this 12-hour sequence, it's going to peak up again. Now, super important to know when these peaks are going to be. And in addition, we do all 24 time zones. So you'd come down here, you'd find your time zone offset. Once you have the proper time zone offset, you can screenshot this. This is for people that don't have good internet, people in rural areas. So when you do have internet, you take advantage of that and you screenshot this, and then you have it all day long in case internet is spotty. Now, if you have good internet, what you do is you just go to our website and you go to healthreconnected.com. We've got a live feed, you hit play, and a time bar progresses through this sequence, shows you exactly where we are within it. And really, we just want you to reference this until you can be confident that this pattern is not only affecting your mood and your defensive reactions, but the mood and the defensive reactions of the people around you. And if you pay attention, it shouldn't take long for you to confirm this. That's the first way we prove this to you. Now, we kind of already talked about this sequence. It's going to be difficult, especially when it starts and then as it connects into the next sequence as well. Okay. Now, the second way we prove this to you is through these alignments. So there are frequencies that make our existence possible. These frequencies are connected to our quadrants, and every once in a while, you'll see two frequencies within the same quadrant align, which means they're just testing that quadrant on the same thing. And what this does is it amplifies the effect. So don't get me wrong, 24/7, we're being tested on how well we get along with our family members. 24/7, we're being tested on how balanced our routines are. But these periods of time here, when we see these alignments happen, if they're blue, it's testing specifically to see if we're getting along with the team, specific teammates, how well we're doing. And if it's purple, that has to do with, well, how balanced is our routine? And if they're unbalanced, this is just amplified, which means it's really going to be noticeable, and we connect it to the quadrants of your body in which you're going to feel it. Now, there are two pretty strong alignments today. I expect people are going to notice these alignments, and they actually happen right on top of each other. So there's a space and a time alignment here. They're both 3 hours long, and we're going to talk about the space alignment first. So this has to do with how we get along with teammates. Space is first person perspective. Okay. And if we're dealing with the colors in the upper parts of the body, whether it's green or yellow, this has to do with the maturing members of the team. If you struggle to communicate with older members of the team during this 3 hour alignment, you'll feel it in your left side. So if you get headache or sinus pressure or shoulder pain or indigestion or any of those things, that's just biofeedback saying, hey, you got to do better. You got to be able to talk to people and inspire people and coordinate with people so that we can make this world a better place. The more you're doing that, the better you're feeling. The less you do that, the more you're not going to feel so well. That's just how that works. Now, the other alignment we're going to talk about is this 3 hour time alignment. This is testing to see how well you're balancing your routines at the larger level here, so the national and the world level. Now, if you're out of balance with your routines, you're going to feel this in the right upper quadrant. So during these alignments, we're really going to have a lot of pressure going on both right and left side. If you feel left, you know it's a teammate. If you feel right, you know it's your routine. Now, a lot of people are going to have right sided pain. How can I be certain? Look at our nations. They are not getting along. They're not equal. We're having all kinds of conflict. And this is because a lot of people's routines have allowed this to happen. They've overinvested in areas that aren't bringing equality and peace to everybody. So expect a lot of people to have some biofeedback that's going to reassure them that, yes, we are in a governed mathematical reality and your choices matter, because if your choices are out of balance, well, there's a consequence for that. All right, let's move down here and we're going to talk about testing sequence now. So just like with the polarity graphs, if we get to a number 4 or above, that just says there's a lot of frequencies in that quadrant at any period of time. So what's going to happen here is the time bar is going to progress through this, and you're going to be able to reference and see how many frequencies are testing you to see how balanced you are, either in your first person perspectives and in your third person perspective. So how you get along with your teammates and how balanced your routine is. And this just helps you understand too that why some areas of your body might feel a little tighter, especially if you struggle with the older masculine members of the team, or if you're maybe not leaving this world a better places by your choices. You're going to notice this testing sequence more in the first 12 hours than you are in the second 12 hours because it falls down. So these graphs really just kind of give you an idea of what areas are going to be tested a little bit harder than other areas. Okay. Now, this is only a 12-hour sequence, so we're only going to discuss the 8 strongest frequencies in this first 12 hours. And you can see there's kind of a little flip flop here going between first person and third person. So, for example, in this next 12-hour period, if you get pain that stays the entire time and it's on the right side of your body, well, then we can pretty much be certain of this. You're having more routine problems than you are teammate problems. And vice versa here. If you happen to have more going on your left side in this next 12-hour period of time, it's more likely that it's going to have to do with teammates. Now, don't overcomplicate this. We really want you just to commit to getting along with everybody and practicing and getting better at mastering those relationships, because that's how you're going to stay healthy. The other thing we're encouraging you to do is start to drastically change routines, because obviously, if we don't change our routines, our world is going to progress in the direction it's going, which is unfair and unbalanced. The more unbalanced it is, the more we all suffer and the more our world suffers. So, again, we're just trying to help you figure out how to use our technology and this information to really get a head start on this, because the sooner you make these commitments, the better it's going to get for you and all the people you care about. All right, so at the end here, we just remind people we've already posted the rest of the electromagnetics for 2024. There will be no more mystery. You don't have to worry. You can come down here. You can look all the way to 2025 and see exactly when this pattern is going to elevate. You're going to know when the news is going to become more newsworthy, when social tensions are going to rise. And that's going to give you an advantage because if you can prepare for this pattern as an individual, what you can do is you can make sure that it doesn't get the best of you. It doesn't get the best of the group of people that you interact with on a day to day basis. And this is going to allow you and all the people you care about to start to eliminate the stress that accelerates aging and disease. Now, we get one or two people understanding this pattern and preparing for it. Well, it's going to help them, but it's not going to make a big collective difference. What we're attempting to do is we're trying to get regions and nations of people understanding this pattern. Because if we can get people knowing when this pattern is going to come and preparing for it and making sure that they don't run away from their problems or they don't stand up and fight and make their problems worse, what we can do is we can take away the ups and downs of this pattern. We can smooth it out and create a much more peaceful, less stressful environment. That's our that's our number one goal here. That's why we're trying to empower you with this technology as well as this mathematical knowledge. All right, we'll see you in the next 12 hours.